to Live, Laugh, LOL.
We've got cancer.
And today is episode 4.
Yeah, we're going to talk about hair.
Hair. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room of Jess's hair, where you might have seen some episodes of really long hair, of pixie cut, of the cap. You might have seen the video of complete egg.
Yeah,
on Instagram, and then here we are, and best news ever, it is growing.
Yeah, the eagle-eyed viewers out there might be able to see there are some tiny little strands. I would like to say this isn't a bald patch, it's grey hair. So I don't know which is worse, but
the grey hair's made a really strong effort to come back through.
Yeah, that came through first.
Isn't it great? So grateful to have grey hair.
Yeah, this is what sparked the inspiration of this episode, because last week we were saying about things that we are kind of forced to be grateful for, and it really got me thinking about the hair loss journey, because really my barrier to gratitude
is diminishing
quite rapidly. So I went from long curly hair that started falling out, and then I was like, okay, well, I've got some hair, I've got pixie cut, grateful for that, even though the majority of it was grey. And then all of that fell out. So I was like, okay, grateful that I still have eyebrows. And then my eyebrows started falling out, and it got to the point where I was like, grateful that I've got 2 eyelashes left.
At least there's some eyelashes.
Teeny
eyelashes. Now it's on the reverse.
Yeah.
She's got eyebrows, she's got eyelashes, and I would call that a full head of hair. Not thick and long.
Yeah,
but
it's just a bit of a shadow at the moment.
But it is fully there. It looks great.
We're going for it. So, not that it's an incentive to keep watching,
but you're going to be able to see,
keep tuning in,
the transition of hair.
You can watch it all grow back.
Yay!
And also, you're meant to get the chemo curl.
Yeah, I have, where it comes back thick and wiry and curly.
So a lot of people, I already had curly hair. So a lot of people have said, you know, like those toys that we used to have when we were younger, where it was like a little person, and you squeezed it and all the Play-Doh pinged out the top.
I didn't play that.
Oh, well, that'll be me anyway. It'll start ringleting out straight up.
But you'll love that, because it'll be just like old hair.
I know.
Or do you want a change?
Well, I feel like the pixie cut was enough of a change.
The pixie cut was huge.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm going to grow long curls again. I don't know. Switch it up. Maybe I'll just expand my wig collection.
I love that we're talking about your options. The options of hair.
I've got about 4 strands of hair. Not even an inch long.
But all in good time.
Where will it lead me?
Anyway, so we are going to be talking about hair, but we are going to, as our new part of the pod to start off.
Yeah.
How's your week been, Jess?
Yeah, it's been good. So Easter weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, so I had my friend Sophie down, which was lovely. But I was so knackered from Norfolk that actually I feel like I've been a bad tour guide.
Yeah.
And just kind of took her a little bit into Leeds, and then I was like, should we just watch a film?
But friends don't mind that. I think that's the one big thing. Friends are like, are you too tired? Are you too tired? You've got cancer. Are you too tired? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Yeah. And they just want you to be happy, and that's why she came up, just to see you.
Yeah, that's what I kind of tell
Imagine
myself.
If really she came up to see Leeds. Can I use your flat dress, because I really need to see Leeds this weekend? I don't think so. I don't think
the
that's
bright lights of Leeds.
And I do love Leeds, but I just don't think that's what happened.
No, but yeah, I wanted to show around a little bit, but it's all right next time.
Next time. There's always next time.
And your week, you've been adventuring again. I feel, is this going to be a
this is my adventure podcast? No.
Where have you been away to this week?
We went to Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland.
I'm sure the viewers would love that.
We went to Scotland, and it was fantastic. And we did a bungee fling, which I'd highly recommend. I did it last year. This is the progression for me. So it's not a bungee jump. I think that's really scary. It's called a bungee swing. The Highland Fling bungee swing, and you're in a more seated position, and they release you rather than you jump off. So you're like less active in the role. And last year when I did it, I did it twice in a row. I was so excited by it, but I held on to the rope. And this year, my big challenge was to not hold on to the rope. Yeah, so I screamed so loudly and I had a sore throat for the full day because it's only like a 3-second drop. It's not long.
Oh yeah, but it looks like you showed me the video where it's like got the camera by your face, so you're just going like
and I hurt my throat because I screamed so much. This is sad. But it was a really, really good weekend. I didn't say I was going to say this, but when we were doing a walk, I had some sort of emotional, I called it breakdown. My friends called it breakthrough. An emotional moment in nature.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know what came over me, but it was like, we're in a valley. It was dead quiet. There was no one around. And it was just me and Mark, so we were walking. We decided to race back on different routes to see which one's quicker. And then, so Mark and I were walking down through this valley, and that obviously deadens the sound a bit when you're in the valley. And it protects you from the wind a little bit. Mm. So you could just hear a tiny little stream because it's barely rained in Scotland. The loch was pretty much empty. Obviously not, but it was really low. And I just lay down and the sun was on my skin and the wind was barely blowing, just really gentle breeze. And there was this little trickling beck going down. Wow. And it was like dead quiet, and I just lay down on the grass, and I just felt, this sounds so corny, but whatever, it was like the ground was like holding my body, and then the sun was heating me up, and when you like, nature had provided everything you need. It was a really nice moment, and then I cried.
Sounds so nice, really.
Yeah. I know, I don't know what came over me.
Overwhelmed with emotion,
but in a really nice way. So I'm now that person, maybe it's the menopause, but I cry now at things. So it wasn't sad, it was just, I
really
cried.
Nice. Yeah, I had a bit of a moment like that, when it snowed this winter in Leeds.
Yeah.
And it was maybe quite close to my diagnosis, and obviously when someone tells you like, you're not long for this world.
This might be the last Christmas you see.
Yeah. So I was like going around looking at the snow and being like, it's so beautiful. And I was just like, get a grip of yourself.
Do you know what that's how I felt, get a grip, what's going on. But it makes me feel really happy that actually you felt the same way. Because I was like, what? Why am I crying? I went down to Mark, who was ahead of me. He was like, what's happening? I don't know. I'm just so happy that the ground is holding.
Just so full of life.
I know. Isn't nature wonderful?
Oh, that is nice though, that like
taking a moment.
It's a very healing.
It is. It was very healing.
Healing.
I needed the weekend. So yeah, we've had busy weekends seeing people, haven't we, both of us?
And then we bumped into each other in the hospital today.
We did.
Our favourite place.
It is our favourite place. We'd just like to check in. If I'm there, Jess, are you going to be about? And then if Jess is there, Becky, are you going to be about? And we'll always pop in and see each other if we are.
Yeah, it was quite nice because I was doing, it's not a chemo, but it's like a new type of treatment in combination with the chemo. But I have to sit in the chemo ward getting the IV.
So she gets chemo through tablets for 2 weeks out of 4, and it's an IV treatment that takes like an hour and a half to run through.
Yeah.
And she sits in the big seats in the ward where people also sit getting that IV chemo.
Yeah. But luckily this treatment doesn't have the side effects of chemo, which is good.
Look at that hair.
I know.
We can see that.
Let's not jinx it though, actually. Maybe this whole episode. Next time I'll go full egg. Because we've really over-egged the hair.
Oh, well.
Hey, pun intended.
I can feel myself having a flush and I'm wondering if you can see it happening.
I don't think so.
I'm going to watch back and see if I've gone red. Carry on.
I'm sure we could do some editing.
Okay. I'm so hot right now. I'm so hot. I'm sweating.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so we met each other in the hospital and I was going for a bone scan. And Jess was having her IV.
Yeah.
And Jess was pretty much asleep when I popped in on her.
Oh, yeah. I just opened my eyes and you were just sitting there like, hiya. Like, whoa.
Just going for a quick look at you before I go for a scan.
To watch you sleep.
Yeah, not creepy at all. And then I had my scan. And then I finished my scan and you were nearly finished with your IV. And then we went our separate ways and then we reunited at Jess's house where Jess made me tea. How lovely is that?
Yay. Saves Mark a job.
Yeah, normally Mark
He
has
is
to cook
the
his
chef.
tea. Yeah, he's so good.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. So that's our week.
Yes. Oh, and so last week we asked for any questions, and we do have one.
Thank you to the one fan.
Listener question.
If you weren't that one fan, then maybe you just need to think about your role in this.
Yeah, you need to step it up a little
Yeah. Okay.
So the question, I have loads of questions about emotional resilience. Any recommendations about what works for you, what makes you happy, and how do you relax?
So I actually have a bit of an analogy that I use to explain my emotional state. Okay. So there are two fields. I'm going to try to do this with the microphone. There are two fields, and one field is my emotional field, and one field is my rational field. And throughout most of this process, I've been in the rational field. There is just like a wire fence between the fields. I could climb through it, I can see through it, it's not a brick wall, it's really easy to move between the two. And the emotional field is full of horses. And the horses need feeding, they need petting. So in my rational field, I can go up to the fence, I can go pat my horses in the emotional field, I can feed them, and I can get the emotion out, I can have a cry, but I cannot go and ride a horse. Okay, I cannot get on one of those horses and get so far away from the fence that I can't even see rational field anymore, because it's not good for anyone. I think there was one moment near my birthday where I felt I'd got on a horse and run away, and it wasn't like this is the end of the world, but it was like I can acknowledge what happens in rational field, but I can't get there because I'm out of sight and too far away. So I need to live in rational field where I'm full of hope. Rational field's my hopeful field. It's like the cure might come out. I might have a really good response to my treatment. Like, I am young, fit and healthy, except the cancer. So maybe it'll all be fine. So I need to stay in my rational field, acknowledge the horse's existence and feed them and look after them, show them compassion. It's been a hard time for those horses. But I also must not go too far into the rational field where I end up in delusional field.
Yeah, and you forget about the horses.
And I forget about the horses.
Don't look after them.
I must remember to look after the horses and go and have a look at them.
There needs to be the balance.
There needs to be the balance. And the rational field...
That's a very good analogy.
Thank you. 2 feet must be in the rational field is my rule, though.
Okay.
Like, not only am I aware of the fields, I must work on staying in rational field.
Okay.
We don't want to cross those.
You don't want to go
barriers.
too deep into emotional field.
No. Only feed the horses.
Breakdown area.
That is breakdown area.
Okay.
Or just really flat area, you know, that area of like, I'm not really sad, but I'm just feel like shit. I don't want to be in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my analogy for like how I keep the mental thing going.
And so how would you say that you like keep the balance? Is there anything in particular that you
I literally just have to tell myself when I'm feeling emotional field, I give myself a stern word and I say, absolutely not.
Get off that horse.
Get off that horse. What do you think you're doing? You are not getting anything from being on the horse. Get back into rational field, take yourself out, have a coffee, ring someone that's going to entertain you for a bit, put some crap TV on, Below Deck, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like the real Maths Australia, the real crap TV, but there's so much drama, you can't focus on your own life.
Yeah.
Because the drama of what's going on between Daisy and Gary and Below Deck Sailing Yacht is too important. So get really into that. Allow that to take me, and then probably have a good night's sleep, and then be like back on it. And in the morning, we're not messing around, keeping busy.
Yeah.
Forget we don't need to ride those horses. Not today.
That's a very good analogy. I like it.
Thank you. You can also use it.
Thanks. I don't have anything as nuanced as that. What do I do? Emotional resilience. Well, I think I love a complementary therapy.
Oh, she does.
Very down. I'm doing everything under the sun. So I've been doing like saunas and cold water
Plunges.
Acupuncture.
You got into
Therapy.
Chinese medicine at one point.
Yeah. Meditation. Try and do all of that stuff.
We're looking after your body, really, and your mind.
Yeah.
Running.
Yeah, well, that's how pre-cancer, that's how I de-stressed a lot, exercise, but my body isn't really allowing me to do that as much. Maybe a bit of yoga, walks, nature as well.
Hugging a tree.
Yeah, I do find if I'm stuck in the flat for like 2 days, it really makes you feel shit, doesn't it?
But it's hard because when you're going through your chemo, that is making you tired, so you also have to look after your body.
That is a real effort sometimes to drag yourself up. You know, when you're in that
you just want to
flat state.
Yeah,
and then you're like, I know that getting up and out of bed will. And also they say, like with chemo, the fatigue. Weirdly, the more you do, the more energy it'll give you. So you shouldn't just lie around in bed and sleep. Like obviously, if you really, really need to, then
look after yourself. Yeah.
But there's, you know, when you're on the verge and you're like, actually getting up and out is gonna. I
really believe that. I believe the more I feed my social battery or my life battery, I don't know, the more power my battery has.
Yeah.
So if I go out and do stuff, my battery is just more full, so I can go do more. But I have my friend Mark, he's like, once I've used that social battery, I need a rest, I need silence, and I need to like regenerate energy for the next time.
Yeah, I guess it's like introvert, extrovert.
I think that might be it.
Isn't it?
Oh my god, this brand new science. Oh no, it's just extrovert and introvert, which everybody already knows about.
Well, but that's how it works in reality though, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah, so lots of a combo of things, I think. I don't think either of us can say one particular thing that we
I think the one thing I can say is we both work hard at it.
Yeah.
And I think it's not just it is a mind game, and you just have to put your head to it and work hard at it. Every day you put your head to it.
Yeah.
And that helps.
Yeah, it does.
And here we are having a laugh. Having a laugh.
Lol.
So, anyway, let's not bore them any longer. We're talking about hair.
Yeah. So
you go.
The hair loss, I suppose, yeah. I think that's an expected like side effect of chemo, but actually mine was really weirdly delayed. So I had a load of chemo at the end of last year that finished in November, and then it got to kind of like January, February time, and I'd still had I had the pixie cut.
Yeah,
I still had pretty much a full head of hair. And the curls had kind of fallen out, but not fully. I don't know how I ended up with a pixie cut rather than just bald. But
she said she got the pixie cut because her hair was thinning, so when it was long, it was looking scraggly.
Yeah, I'd ended up with just little random
thin, wispy
bits. Yeah,
curls.
And I said I ended up a bit like, you know, that picture of Albert Einstein where he's got like all the white wispy hair. That was me. So then actually it was quite a relief to shave it.
Yeah.
We had a little head shaving party.
Yeah, and all the girls surprised you with bowl cuts.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that was actually your inspiration, because you were saying you were going to do a photo shoot when you thought you were going to lose your hair. So I was like, actually, yeah, rather than it being like have a friend come over and everything's really sad and you shave your hair and cry, we actually were like, no, let's just, you know, I'll invite all the girls over, we'll have dinner, we'll make it a nice thing. One of my friends really good at photography, so she took some pictures, and then without me knowing, there was me sitting trying to be all arty and posing about my hair loss, and then all the girls lined up behind me with these bald caps that they bought off Amazon.
Yeah, they look so good.
So there's me being all serious and sad, and them in the background like, yay!
But that did look like a fun night in the end.
Yeah, it did. It made it really good. So yeah, that was like, I suppose, the first stage of hair loss, but then I was like, I really don't want to go full egg.
Agreed. The first idea though, when you did your photo shoot with your pals, I'd thought as well what you could do is but I'm not saying this is everyone's cup of tea. But I once watched America's Next Top Model, and I can't remember what series it was, and they made one of the models shave their head. And
that is severe.
It is severe. But then she looked really good, so this was amazing. And I'm like, I'm never going to shave my head. Hang on a minute, if I have to, maybe I'm going to put a power suit on and get someone to take a picture of me with a bald head and a power suit, living like absolute bad bitch life.
Yeah. I didn't quite go that far, but
that's your next step, don't worry. You'll get there.
That was a good idea, like owning it, empowering yourself.
Yeah.
Haircut, rather than it being sad that you've lost all your hair.
So then she ended up loving the pixie cut. It really messed with her identity for a bit.
Yeah.
She was like, who am I?
Retrospectively, I was
attracting all the ladies. You said it.
You said it.
She said it.
No, but I did.
Yeah.
I did actually start changing my attitude when I was walking around.
Really?
Yeah, because I was a bit like, this is a bit of a like edgy, maybe aggressive haircut.
You were very edgy.
So I was just like bringing out my edgy side, you know, like don't look at me, you know. Sometimes if people walk past me on the street, I might smile at them, but with the pixie cut, I was just like, and what?
And
what are you looking at my hair
Isn't it
for?
Amazing what that can do to your personality? It completely changed your personality. I don't think you should go back
to fight people.
Yeah, that doesn't sound as good as how you made that out. Okay,
I just became more aggressive.
Yeah,
with the new haircut.
Great. But then you did love the pixie cut, and
I did.
Then unfortunately you had to go back on the chemo. All a bit of a nightmare. Chemo episode coming up at some point.
Yeah,
but your hair came out again, and you literally full egged it.
Full on egged it
at a Turkish barber's.
Oh yeah, I did. That was quite the experience. It was like in between pixie cut and full egg, where again it was falling out.
Yeah, and
again it was the dark hairs that left first, and all the greys just stayed.
Yeah, tight,
really tight. So I was like, I need to sort this out, and I didn't have any clippers. So I was like, I was down in London with some friends. I was like, we'll try to go to the hairdressers, because you think, you know, hairdressers, feminine, they're going to be like, are you okay? They're going to acknowledge the fact that shaving your head for a woman is quite a serious thing to do. Maybe a bit of a softer atmosphere. The hairdressers was closed, and I was like, this needs doing.
Yeah.
Where else has clippers? The Turkish barbers. So I went into a random Turkish barber's, as you would stereotypically imagine, a very masculine energy. I'm just like queuing up behind all the dads.
Aww.
And then I walked in, and they were just like, number one all over, and I was like, trying to hold on to some. I was like, can we try number 2 first? And he was just like, nah, love, I think it would just be patchy, so just sit over there, I'll give you number 1 all over. And I was like, okay. So I just sat down, and he was just like, you're right, love, do you watch the football this weekend? Literally tried to engage me in conversation about football, and I was like,
I love that though.
This is the most stereotypically masculine thing
that's
ever happened. But actually,
it takes the emotion out of it.
Exactly. I actually appreciated it in the end, because there wasn't this like softly, are you okay? Which maybe would have triggered like, no, it's actually really shit to shave my hair. But because this guy was
just grateful that someone... It's grateful that someone's willing to shave all your hair off and talk to you.
I literally just like, I don't know, got his clippers out.
Got it off.
Tenner. There you go, love. Have a nice day.
That's the problem, a tenner, and in the hairdressers that would have cost 50 quid. Well,
maybe not, but
yeah, loads.
So that was an interesting experience along the hair loss journey. The Turkish barbers,
and that was the last thing until now. It's regrowing.
Yeah,
and it's looking great.
Yeah.
And it really is looking great. I'm not just saying that.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, so I think the thing to be wary of actually is they told me at the start, and a lot of the literature that they gave us both, I guess, when we were talking about chemo, is like, you'll definitely lose your hair. It'll happen within 1 or 2 days in the first 2 cycles. Yeah. So I was really prepping for immediate hair loss.
I prepped so hard. I had a wedding and I was doing a speech at the wedding like 11 days after the first chemo was all organised for. See, my chemo got organised in advance because of the scans being late. It was all, I knew about it quite far in advance. And so I got my wig organised. I'd been on all of the hair loss, look good, feel better courses. I tried on all the wigs at the wig shop in Leeds.
Yeah, you're much more organised than me with that.
Cut my hair in prep. So they say if you cut your hair, you're changing your identity before you lose your identity. So you are in control of your identity. So I was like, I'm so organised. And then they said about the cold cap, I was going to use a cold cap. But they were like, you can use a cold cap, but you will lose all your hair because different medicines for different chemos. And this chemo medicine was a definite lose your hair one.
Yeah, some of them they say it's not guaranteed, but some they say it is.
Yeah. I was so ready. So I got my hair cut and I got it cut really short and it was really long. I got it cut really short. Donated it to the Princess or Prince's Trust, which I felt really, that's why I got it really short, because if you donate 7 inches, they say it could be used for oil spills. And if you donate 12 or 11 or 12, it'll be used as a wig, and that's only because they have so much hair that's already 7 inches. So they're like trying to tempt you to grow it.
Yeah.
So I got it, that's why I got it cut so short. And then literally like a few days later, they were like, yeah, you're not having chemo anymore. And I don't begrudge donating it because I really loved my hair. So I feel like that's nice hair to go to someone. But I couldn't believe it. Like I just got my hair cut for this stuff. But never mind.
Yeah. And that, like, because when I met you, you had short hair. So I just thought that's what you'd always looked like.
Yeah.
Whereas when we got talking about it, you were like, actually, no, it was a really big deal for me to cut my hair.
But I did that thing that you're talking about. I made it a really big deal. I was like, this is huge. I'm going to feel sad. I'm probably going to cry because I'm getting my hair cut. Mum, you must come down and visit me. Mark, you need to come and check on me. My friend Chessie came to join me. My dad came down. I was like, this is a huge deal. And then actually during the process, I wasn't fussed. I was kind of just so excited so excited about the change that I didn't have the emotional response that I'd really prepped myself for.
Okay.
And then I didn't need the wig anyway because I didn't cut my hair off. So I had my own hair at the wedding, but for my speech I'd been planning on what I would say to address the hair loss and have to maybe address the chemo drugs or whatever. So I was going to be like, no one's hitting it as hard on the drugs as me these days. But anyway, I couldn't use any of like the absolute gold that I prepared.
Great material.
All the great material because I wasn't on chemo when I had my hair, so no one gave a shit. Obviously people gave a shit. I didn't talk about it though because why would you?
Yeah, have you still got your wig? Did you get it in the end?
No, I cancelled my appointment. It was like the day after I found out and I just was like, I'm not going. But I'd looked at it online. They do a Zoom. The first thing in Leeds anyway is you send pictures of you from like all angles of your hair. If you wanted one that looks like your hair, you take loads of pictures of you from all angles, send it in, and then they do a Zoom meeting with you and you talk about what you're after and she shows you what she's got online and then they order it in. And so I was just getting to the point. They'd just arrived and I was going to go collect it. And then I thought, keep it.
Yeah, so I didn't do a wig appointment.
No.
I was not as prepped. Even though they told me that I was going to lose my hair, I think it was kind of like the least of my worries at the time because I was just like, diagnosis, got to start chemo, get myself better, shock.
Yeah.
But then actually I was like, shit, my hair's falling out and I do want a wig. So I found one online in the end because curly hair wigs, I wanted one that looked as close to my natural hair as possible, and they tried the hardest, but
it's
some
proper,
of the wigs that they put on me were terrible.
And then your hair was so ringlety.
Yeah.
So you ended up getting one off Amazon?
Well, it was like an online, it wasn't Amazon, it was like an online one that
and it was
my
real
friend
hair.
Laura found. Yeah.
which real hair makes a difference to synthetic because you can style it as well.
Yeah.
And then you took yours to the hairdresser.
Yeah, and then she cut it for me, which was really nice because it is real hair, so it's much easier for them to do.
And they do recommend that when you're getting a wig, they say, put it on, take it to the hairdresser and they'll help you. Because it can look, and Jess thought the same, when you're trying wigs on, they look really heavy at the top back.
Sometimes they can, yeah. And then sometimes they came with like a zigzag parting, which people just don't really have that, which you don't
just not the fashion anymore
until you get it put on your head and you're just like, no, this looks wrong.
I would, if you're looking for a wig, I would go on to the Look Good Feel Better website and sign up for their hair appointments. They do them on Zoom because I learned so much. They talk you through different bases of wigs, so you can have like the weaved ones or the open net ones, and if it's open you can move the hair like a parting. If it's closed you can't, your parting's fixed.
Yeah,
there's different things you can have, like you can have woolly hats that just have a fake hair ponytail coming out, or they do fake fringes that you can stick to the underside of a headband or a hat.
Yeah,
so loads of like good winter ideas.
Loads of options. Yeah, and actually I did wear the wig for a while, but then I think having the pixie cut, I just got used to it. And actually there's practicalities around wearing the wig, like you can't exercise in it, like bits like that, and actually it just
it's a pain to put on.
It became more of a pain than it was like made me feel better. So
but it's good to help you transition.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you just get it to help you mentally through a transitional period, that like do what you need to do to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I really didn't want in the early stages, was to go full egg, because then I feel like people look at you and they're like, that's an obvious sign that you're sick. And I didn't want to have people looking at me like that because I didn't necessarily feel sick.
Yeah.
Like,
and also it's just not nice.
Life.
That feels cancery.
Yeah, exactly.
If someone's bald or wearing the headscarf.
Yeah.
Or pale or whatever, you feel like...
What are you coming from a skin tone for?
I didn't want to say
I didn't even think about that.
But you're so...
I'm pale and bald.
Pale. You're not pale.
I am.
You're not pale.
I looked at my skin in the light the other day and you could see all of my veins.
She's not that pale.
Casper.
But...
Anyway.
That's also because you've not really been out in the sun.
This is getting worse.
I was meant to make it better.
Just because you've been cooped up inside with your sad little lack of social life, you haven't seen any sun.
It's been really sunny. It's been really sunny in Leeds, and you could have been out.
Wow, this might be the last pod, guys.
Oh no.
It's okay, I'm joking. I am okay with being pale, but I have been outside.
But I actually didn't even mean that you were pale. I meant there is a cancer look, and it is of someone being
pale and bald. Pale and bald.
Yeah, and you actually don't have the cancer look. I just want you to know.
Well, hopefully not anymore. I just have a Sinead O'Connor look.
You do have a Sinead O'Connor look, and it looks fab. But so I think what I was trying to get at was a more important point. But it was that like it's not even just that you don't have hair or whatever. It's that you look like something that, to me, it was like, I don't want to look like what signals cancer to me.
Yeah.
Because that feels too, I feel so disassociated from that.
Yeah.
That feels weird that I would look like that.
Yeah.
I'm meant to look like that association between the look and cancer was really close for me. So I thought that was something that would mean
a lot.
Badness.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't like, the thought of, just because you have to build up a lot more mental resilience than just to go around and like go to the shops or go to your day to day. Like, it's like, do I want to go through the effort of making myself up fully to put the wig on to hide it, or do I want to just go to the shops but then, you know, you're going to have people double glancing at you, and then you kind of have to have more of a shield around yourself to just go about your day-to-day stuff, and that's what I really didn't want. But actually I think there was a little bit of me overthinking that, and
yeah,
I haven't felt like that as much walking around.
but you get the wig to start with in prep for in case you do feel like that, and then you kind of get into your own swing of things, and maybe that's a good sign of maybe it's more in our heads than it is in reality. Actually, really few people care about what your hairstyle is.
Yeah, and there's always that thing like people will be thinking about you less than you think that they're thinking about you.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you can't be asked to put a wig on, don't put it on.
Yeah, well, that's me nowadays all the time. I haven't worn it in ages.
No, you haven't. And maybe also this is not based on science, but maybe that's letting your hair grow.
Oh, maybe.
It's like
I've been oiling as a tip. I saw online that castor oil and rosemary oil mixed together makes your hair grow. So I've been doing that a lot.
How long have you been doing it for?
I would say 3 weeks or so.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's made all the difference.
So yeah, I will continue to do it, and let's see how fast it grows.
But you did say that sometimes in the morning you smell a bit like...
Smell like a roast dinner.
Yeah.
Because of the rosemary.
So that's why she can't go outside, because she cooks.
Yeah, exactly. It's been too sunny in Leeds and I've incinerated my head.
Yeah.
With all the oil.
Exactly. So unfortunately she's having to stay inside. Yeah, so that's, I guess, a little bit about hair. Do you have anything else to add? Because it really is a huge thing. I have my own complexes about it, which are completely insignificant compared to yours, because I've obviously not lost my hair. But I really felt this thing of, I know I've talked to you about it before, / half an hour ago, but I always thought in my mind, chemo and cancer were so closely linked. You know, the look I was talking about, dare I say it again, it wasn't like a chemo look, it was a cancer look. But now I'm in the world, I understand that that's actually a type of chemo that will do that to you, but it's not the cancer necessarily that does that to you, it's the treatment that does that to you. So when I wasn't having chemo, obviously that was great. It was a double-edged sword because it meant I was stage 4, otherwise I would have had it. So it was sad and I wanted it because that meant I was stage 2, but it was good I wasn't having it. So I was also glad. There were a lot of mixed emotions. I was also glad I wasn't having it, but then I felt this weird thing of, I'm telling people I have cancer and I'm not Belle Gibson, and I do, but I feel tight because I've not lost my hair. I've not sat in the chemo chair, and that feels to me like a true cancer experience. So then I feel like a bit of a fraud.
Like imposter syndrome.
I feel like imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
I don't want chemo.
Yeah.
But then without chemo, I feel like I'm in that weird space of this.
Yeah, feeling like you've not gone through the cancer experience, but there are so many cancer experiences, aren't there? I think that's right. Like a lot of people do associate cancer and then you have chemo. Yeah. But actually, people have operations, like you had a mastectomy. People have different types of treatment. I don't know if you even lose your hair with like immunotherapy now.
I'm not sure. Radiotherapy.
Yeah. So actually, there's a lot within the scope of having cancer treatment that doesn't involve chemo, but it's an interesting point, I guess. Like,
yeah, and I feel like I could get a lot of backlash for thinking it, and I'm not saying I'm in a bad position at all. I'm just airing a view.
Yeah, I think it's a valid point, because I think a lot of people make that association.
Yeah, and it is tough, I think, having chemo, and I count myself very lucky that I'm not having the physical side effects that come with such a strong treatment, like fatigue, sickness, hair loss, change in flavour of food, lack of appetite.
Yeah, but it's not like, not that we're like doing a competition, but it's not like you've just been told that you
had cancer and then I just went away and
fine, you're skipping around.
I'm not. I've got other stuff going on.
Exactly.
And there's loads of other stuff going on, but yeah, for me, that just felt like a sticking point. Like, oh, I feel a bit like a fraud But I know if I stated it out as facts, it's shit. But God, I feel lucky. So, but then I feel like a fraud. It's just so weird.
Yeah, lots of mixed emotions around the cancer journey.
Yeah.
It's not as simple.
It's just not
as we
simple.
think.
But one good thing about the hair loss, and so my treatment's changed. I was on a higher dose of, I have one pill that I have that is really strong, and some doctors called it a chemo drug. So for ages I was like, oh, I am on chemo. And then they kept referring to it as your chemo.
Oh.
And yeah, I know. And then I asked and I was like, I don't think I am on chemo, but you keep calling this drug a chemo drug. And then they said, it's complicated because actually chemo is I don't know, I was talking to someone about it, it just kind of means cell. So it can be counted as a chemo drug, but it's not really, it's a CDK4/6 inhibitor.
Oh.
So I think that's probably why they were calling it like the chemo thing. But it's not. But it was a strong dose, and I did have a bit of hair loss, including bodily hair loss.
Oh.
That was not a problem. And then my white blood cells dropped, so I wasn't allowed the dose. So they dropped the dose, and the hair came back. Which was, you know, when you're just like, what nice little silver lining of not having to shave my armpits.
Although, I did tell you about this the other week, didn't I? When I was in hospital the other day, and it was when I was full egg. And I've lost a bit of weight, like with treatment, nausea, blah, blah, blah. And I just had a shower in those disabled toilets, and then they have the full length mirror.
Yeah.
And I walked past it and I was like, whoa, because I actually genuinely looked like the image of an alien. You know, like the little bald, skinny alien, when I saw myself fully
you did
hairless and naked.
But can I just say that
nice
aliens are bloated. And that you weren't bloated. So she didn't actually fit the alien description.
Wait till I put some weight on.
Yeah, just
then I'll start creeping around
here.
outside, naked, freaking people out.
With your translucent skin.
On that wonderful
note,
okay. Really selling myself, aren't I?
Yeah. Guess that's the end.
Yeah, I think that's everything we wanted to cover
today. So, if you really are a good friend and fan of the show, like and subscribe, and please ask us any questions or anything you want us to cover in the comments below, or
on Instagram.
Slide into our DMs.
Yes, please.
Bye, guys.
Bye.